A pleasant day to all of you. Welcome to the program and thank you for joining us today. Thank you for being subscribers of Cignal TV, viewers of OneNews PH, and followers of Agenda. Thank you for those of you yung nanonood po and following us on Facebook as well as on YouTube. Hello to our friends at the LTO, to our friends in the Sabong community, in Zamboanga, in Batangas, and of course to our brothers and sisters in the faith, particularly to those of you who are from Victory Christian Fellowship or Every Nation. Kahapon kasi may bumati sa aking pastor, pinag-usapan namin yung political history. Okay, it's August 16, 2022. It's a Tuesday, and our daily starter for today comes from a documentary that I watched just last weekend. It is on the life of Israel, former Prime Minister of Israel, Shimon Peres. And he said, "I don't regret any of my dreams. My only regret is not having dreamed more." For most of his life, Shimon Peres was labeled a dreamer, someone who was unrealistic, off tangent, but he held on, remained true to his calling, and ultimately he made one of the biggest contributions, the big difference for Israel as a modern nation. So yun po, no, do not be afraid to dream. Do not let go of your dreams. And if one dream comes to nothing, replace it with another dream. Okay, let's go to the front page of the Philippine Star. And the front page, the headline is "Resigned Agriculture Executive Insists on Sugar Shortage." Resigned SRA Administrator Leocadio Sebastian insists and stands firm on his belief, based on data and statistics, that there is a sugar shortage. Meanwhile, hindi pala na desisyonan pa lang, pinag-iisipan pa ni President President Bongbong Marcos to import 150,000 metric tons of sugar. At the top of the paper, poverty incidence worsens to 18.1% in 2021, according to the Philippine Statistics Authority. We will tackle that issue with our second guest later on. If you are traveling in and out of the country, well, probably those coming into the country, you may be required or requested, if you are wearing a jacket, to kindly remove your jacket so that airport health personnel can monitor if you have lesions, boils, or any signs of the monkeypox virus infection. Okay, SRA board member steps down. Okay, another SRA board member representing millers has stepped down in the person of Roland Beltran. Hindi po natin kamag-anak, but at least nag-resign siya because he said he signed the SRA order on a condition that it abides by law. Meanwhile, former Secretary of Department of Agriculture, Artemio ba? Hindi. Domingo Panganiban has returned to the DA as Undersecretary to the President. Okay? And mahaba po ang experience ni former Secretary Panganiban, having been one of the implementors of the Masagana 99 Bagayong program, and he is a field implementor. Okay, so welcome to the job. I hope you do better. Okay, 10 billion peso vaccines equivalent to 20 million doses wasted. Pinag-uusapan pa rin yung mga na-expire, hindi nagamit na vaccines. And sadly, Press Secretary and the MMDA Chief both got COVID. The good news is Trixie Angeles is asymptomatic. So let that serve as a warning to all of us that COVID is out there active and trying to gain ground. Meanwhile, dengue has gone up to 131% compared to last year. So please laang mag-ingat na po tayo. And that photo at the bottom of the Philippine Star, it is back to school face-to-face after 2 years. A teacher at St. Mary's University Grade School is accompanying her students in Nueva Vizcaya. Okay, so that's all the news we have for the front page of the Philippine Star. Let's now go to our first interview, someone who has been in media for the longest time and has found his calling in serving in government. Let's get to meet our first guest, who is an undersecretary for Railways under the Department of Transportation.
Cesar Chavez currently serves as Undersecretary for Railways Development of the Department of Transportation. In the same post during the Duterte administration, Chavez was instrumental in securing approval for the Metro Manila subway and other rail projects across the country. Prior to this, Chavez served as board member at the Basis Conversion and Development Authority and Assistant General Manager at the Metro Manila Development Authority.
Okay, Yusek Chavez, good morning, kaibigan, kuya, mentor, and Siga. Welcome to the program.
Welcome. Thank you, Cito. Magandang umaga.
Okay, Yusek Chavez, you've made a name for yourself in the DOTr, MRT, subway, etc. because talagang pinupush mo. You were very supportive of the program, especially when you were in the department already. And then you also distinguished yourself na hindi mo papayagan yung kalukuhan. In fact, if I recall, there was a time na, di ba, nag-resign ka pa nga because you could not come to an agreement or you disagreed with decisions being made?
That's right, Cito. When I was Assistant Secretary and subsequently Undersecretary of the Department of Transportation sometime in 2016 and 2017, when I saw that we cannot pay in our conscience 28 million without receipts, 15 million without receipts, 4 million without receipts, I said to myself, enough is enough and we cannot pay that. And therefore, I moved that contract be terminated. I was referring to Buri contract. Before that, Cito, I was Deputy Administrator of the Light Rail Transit Authority from 2004 to 2010, during which time I was the head of the procurement, I was the head of the planning cluster, I was the head of human resource cluster of the LRTA. In my experience, in our professional experience, we can achieve good governance and achieve results through good governance. In fact, during my time as Deputy Administrator of LRT and Chair of the Bids and Awards Committee, we requested the Catholic Bishops' Conference of the Philippines to sit in as an observer during the procurement period. Wala kayong narinig na alingas-ngas noon. We completed the project from Monumento to SM to Trinoma, MRT3 in 1.5 years without delay. In fact, one of the fastest infrastructure project ever held in this country, produced in this country during the time of President GMA, 1.5 years, 6.5 billion from Monumento, LRT Line 1 to MRT3 sa Trinoma. It was because the procurement was above board. Bidjufied, first time ho yun. Binidyo natin yung procurement na yun with the presence of the Catholic Bishops Conference of the Philippines. We
Okay.
invite the Commission on Audit and Ombudsman. The same principle we applied when I went back to DOTr under the Duterte administration.
Okay, now matanong ko, let me ask Yusek, because I think the big question mark right now, as far as you are the Undersecretary for Railways, and just before things settled down for the PBBM administration, there was a big issue on the fact that the 3-year negotiation of Sonny Dominguez with China did not amount to anything. And then there was this other group who were saying that we should deal with Japan because China charges 3%, Japan charges 0.1, although it was on a government-to-government ODA arrangement. Now, you're going to be in the middle of that. Did you have an understanding with President Marcos regarding your authority? Kasi tingnan mo yung nangyari sa SRA. The guy did what he thought what he had to do, and now he had to resign because of pressure and political, of course, legal issues. Now, you will find yourself in that crossroad. Did the president give you blanket authority?
He did not give us a blanket authority, but the commander's guidance, if I may use that, the commander's guidance is in the SONA. In the SONA, the president issued statement, policy guidelines. One, to complete the North-South Commuter Railway, the Metro Manila Subway Project, the extension of Line 1 from Baclaran to Cavite, the MRT4, and he made mention three other projects. One is the Cebu Railway Project, the Panay Railway Project, and the Mindanao Railway Project.
Okay.
In the SONA, the president only specified the Mindanao Railway Project. The president did not mention the South Longhor Project from Calamba to Bicol, and the president did not mention the Clark to Subic Railway Project, and therefore the three Chinese-funded projects. He only mentioned the Mindanao Railway Project, and that is our immediate commander's guidance.
Okay, so given all that you've laid out, what are actual, what are aspirational? Kasi sa haba ba naman ng panahon, hindi na namin alam ano yung talagang nandiyan na, ginagawa na, o pinapanaginipan pa lang.
Okay, ang ginagawa na, and we are not letting this dream go. Halimbawa, number one, yung Metro Manila Subway, ginagawa na yan. That's 33 kilometers, 17 stations from East Valenzuela Station, papunta yan ng Bikutan. Maganda ang ridership dyan, can as go as high as 600 to 700,000 a day passengers. Ginagawa na yan, nagsisimula na tayo. Nakikita nyo na ang construction sa North Avenue, Veterans. Nakikita nyo na ang construction sa Valenzuela Depot, kung saan magkakaroon ng East Valenzuela Station. Ginagawa na yan. Second, ginagawa na ang North-South Railway Project. Nasa 35% na tayo.
When you say North-South Rail Project, pasensya ka na, Kuya Cesar, ano? Kasi not everyone in the Philippines know which project we're talking about. Could you at least explain to our viewers what is the North-South Railway Project?
North-South Railway Project involves 147 kilometers from Clark to Calamba using the old PNR alignment, 35 stations. That project is 873 billion project, the biggest project funded by Japan and Asian Development Bank. Pag sinabi natin, nang binanggit ko na 35% ang completion pag construction, I'm referring only to Tutuban to Malolos. Ongoing na din ang construction ng viaduct, ng column ng viaduct, pati ng ilang stasyon from Malolos to Clark. Malolos to Clark is about 10 station. Manila to Bulacan, Malolos is about 11 station. Tapos yung South commuter is from Tutuban o Solis, papunta yan ng Calamba. It's about 56 kilometers. Itong mga ito ay total 35 stations funded by Japan, covering three biggest regions in the country, Cito, that's Central Luzon, Southern Tagalog, and Metro Manila. combined, easily, around 800,000 passengers daily ang pwedeng matutulungan nito. Pero
And all of this will be passing through the major population centers. Hindi ito yung nasa dulo ng teritoryo na magta-tricycle, mag-jeep ka pa, etc.
Tama yan. Halimbawa, yung dating PNR alignment mula Manila papunta ng Calamba, yun din yun. Yung papunta ng Solis, papunta ng Clark, ganun din yun. Dadaan ng Kalumpit, dadaan ng Malolos, dadaan ng Valenzuela, San Fernando, Angeles, kung saan yung matataong lugar, kung saan may malakas ang economic activity, doon dadaan ang mga rails na ito.
Okay. Now, why stop at Calamba? Because, before we went on the air, you and I were talking about the fact that we both experienced, pareho na tayong nakasakay. We rode on the PNR train, you from Naga, me from Agdangan, Quezon, to Manila. Sabi ko nga, nahiga na ako sa swelo, sa sahig ng tren ng PNR sa hating gabi. So, why stop from Calamba, not go on all the way to Naga and develop a first class or modern railway?
All right, very good question. Yung North-South Commuter Railway ay Clark to Calamba lang funded by Japan and Asian Development Bank. Pero yung Calamba to Daraga Albay, that's 383 kilometers. Calamba to Daraga, to be funded by China. Siguro, inform natin ating mga kababayan. Hindi naman talaga zero ang nangyari. Kahit hindi natuloy ang loan agreement for civil works, for rolling stocks, and electromechanical with China. Ang totoo niyan, dalawa kasi ang proseso ng pangungutang sa China. Katulad din sa Japan, pero medyo baliktad. Sa China, pipili ka muna ng project management consultancy. Pagkatapos niyan, yung project management consultancy, tutulong yan para gumawa ng terms of reference at tutulong din yan sa project management supervision until defects liability. So, yung consultancy worth 14 billion is already a consummated contract at nandiyan na yan. Out of 14 billion, nasa 1.2 billion na ang nagastos ng Philippine government through China loan para sa parcellary survey, appraisal, tapos sa concept design. Ang nawala sa atin sa Calamba to Daraga Albay worth 142 billion signed by Secretary Tugate. Ang nawala sa atin is the funding for construction of the riles of the stations, pati na yung pagpapagawa ng bagon. So doon lang ho tayo naputol. Ang proseso ho kasi sa China, unlike sa JICA, Asian Development Bank, and the Philippine Procurement Law, ang Beijing ay magsasabit ng 3 shortlist ng mga contractor. Step 1. Step 2, ang Department of Budget and Management ay mamimili through a procurement process, bidding, kung sino sa 3 halimbawa ang may magandang proposal. Step 3, ang Department of Transportation ay mag-a-award doon sa napili ng DBM, PS-DBM. At ang step 4, ang Department of Finance will have to negotiate, will have to apply for the loan, negotiate, and sign the loan for the 142 billion. Yun ho ang naputol natin dito sa panahon ni Secretary Dominguez. So, yan po ang pagdating sa Bicol. Pagdating naman sa Mindanao Railway Project, totally wala talaga. Pagdating sa pondo, yung process na binanggit ko sa inyo ay wala pa tayo sa stage na yon. Yung Subic and Clark, about 52 billion, wala din. So ang pinaka-advanced stage dito sa 3 railway project, supposedly to be funded by China loan, ODA, ay ang Calamba to Bicol. So, hindi ho tayo natatapos sa Calamba sapagkat pagdating ng Calamba, Chinese-funded project ko dapat ho yan kung nasunod yung unang usapan.
Okay, so the real projects on the ground is the commuter railway project from Clark to Calamba. that's being started. And then the subway, the 33-kilometer subway train program. Now, dun sa subway program na yun for Metro Manila, how many kilometers have actually been tunnel bored?
Alright, hindi pa nagsisimula ang operasyon ng tunnel boring machine. Kung ano ang nakita natin sa nakarang administrasyon, it was only a ceremonial na meron na tayong ng tunnel boring machine. Pero wala pa talagang actual operation ng tunnel boring machine. We expect by November 2 or November 3, magsisimula na ang operasyon ng tunnel boring machine. Yung tunnel boring machine, we observed that in Yokohama sometime in 2017. We went there para mag-aral, matuto, mag-observe kung paano ang tunneling para sa subway. Ang nagagawa lang niyan, Cito, ay 6 to 8 meters a day. 6 to 8 meters a day. So medyo matagal talaga yan. Pero pag nagsimula yan, yung sinasabi namin, kapag nagsimula yan, ay hindi dapat huminto. So yung construction methodology is very meticulous, pero maganda naman sapagkat yung mga contractor na nakuha noong nakarang administrasyon ay may track record sa Japan, selected by Japan through DBM at through JICA, highly competent contractor, at dito na kami nagpiprepare ngayon. Dito na kami naghahanda. There are many challenges. Siguro dapat maunawaan ng ating mga kababayan. In other countries, in Singapore, in Malaysia, in Hong Kong, in Japan, in Europe, ang 6 na kilometro ng subway project sometimes takes 6 to 8, sometimes to 10 years. Dito ang commitment sa atin, kung maibibigay na natin ang ROW, right of way, para sa mga contractor natin, pwedeng magkaroon tayo ng partial operability. I'm referring only to the 4 stations ng East Valenzuela, Quirino, Mindanao, Tandansora, and North Avenue. Halimbawa, ay by 2027, hindi ho talaga madali ang proseso ng subway. Napakahabang proseso yan.
Well, yung right of way lang, Undersecretary Chavez, I'm very familiar with the nightmares that San Miguel experienced with the Skyway, so much so that they had to construct their pillars on the esteros and unusual locations because certain groups, companies, people opposed or tried to get more money than was reasonable. Now, ano ang guarantee natin that the DOTr and the Republic of the Philippines has the political will and the means to impose the, ano ba yun, di ba? Merong right of the state to get the property and make sure that the right of ways are provided for this huge and necessary project.
We have the political will and we know exactly what to do, but we continue to engage communities, especially property owners, that we design the alignment, not knowing kung sino ang may-ari ng bahay, ng building o ng lupa. Simulan ko halimbawa. Ang proyekto ay nagsisimula sa isang master plan. Pagkatapos ng master plan is actually connecting the dots of the current and the future trends in human development and physical developments, connecting the dots. After that is the feasibility study. Pagkatapos ng feasibility study, sometimes takes a year, 1.5 years. Doon na ini-specify ang alignment. Nagsisimula na ang parcel survey, pati na ang appraisal. Pagkatapos ng appraisal, meron ka ng notice of taking. So ini-inform mo yung mga, hindi mo actually inalam kung sino mga may-ari noon.
Yeah, okay. But I get, we don't want to have hindi naman to congressional hearing yung SEC, no? So baka masyado tayo madetalye. But having said everything, are you putting a deadline regarding the right of ways? Kasi yung Skyway na pagastos, na imbierna, na kanal, literally nakanal sila because of the oppositions and the highway robbery of some property owner. Are you guys going to put a deadline for this right-of-way acquisitions?
May kanya-kanyang characteristic ang bawat packages. Halimbawa, ang deadline natin ay 2 years. 2 years. 2 years relocation of utilities tulad ng NGCP, high voltage transmission lines, relocation of ISF, pati na ang expropriation. Expropriation sapagkat yung iba ay ayaw maging part ng project, and therefore ang DOTr in this case will result to expropriation cases.
Okay, now quickly na lang because we're running out of time, but how about other projects? Because some people after the president made the pronouncement on railways were saying, what about the historical Manila to La Union, the Mortis Railway, bakit pinabayaan na, etc.?
Magandang tanong. Maraming salamat sa opportunity. Immediately after the State of the Nation Address of the President, in 5 days after that, si Secretary Bautista ay nagpadala ng letter to the Department of Budget and Management, to AIIB, to PPP Center, requesting funding for feasibility study. One from Clark to Damortis, La Union, phase 1. Second, phase 2 is from La Union to Vigan. Umaabot po yan ng mga 130 kilometers, and Vigan phase 3 to Lawag. So humingi na po tayo ng pondo dyan para sa feasibility study at ongoing ang negotiation natin para ma-include yung mga binabanggit niyang linya.
Okay, Yusek, there's a request for clarification regarding the funding of the projects. Is China still in the running for the two other major railways aside from the commuter line? Dun sa mga napag-usapan natin, is China still in the running? Because the issue remains, China is charging 3%. Inuuna yung kanilang mga service providers while Japan is only charging 0.1.
China is very interested. In our meeting last Thursday with the Chinese ambassador, China expressed excitement and interested to pursue the project, especially those mentioned by the president.
Is the Philippine government is the Philippine government and the DOTr equally excited, or are they now more attracted with Japan? Because what has changed in the China-Philippine negotiation?
We are not closing our doors with other funders, but right now the DOTr is thinking that the China ODA is the best option. For instance, is the best option one? Because it is there already. Mayroon ng project management consultancy worth 14 billion, Manila to Calamba. Calamba to Daraga Albay. Usually, ang Japan contractor, usually ang ibang mga funders, ayaw nila na kung sino nagsusupervise. In this case, China magsusupervise ng Calamba to Bicol, to Daraga. Usually, hindi sila nagsasama. So, that's one. Second, ang tingin ho namin at ang pakiramdam ho namin, malaki na ang exposure ng Asian Development Bank. This is the single biggest project of Asian Development Bank in the North Railway project, more than 300 billion pesos ho yan. Ang Japan din ganon. That's 488 billion subway. Malaki ho yun. Isa sa pinakamalaking project ng Japan ho yan. Tapos yung North-South Railway project, yung lahat ng bagon, 483, 464 na bagon. Ang magpapautang dyan ay ang Japan. Yung Manila to Malolos is purely funded by Japan, 183 billion. In other words, ang tingin
Kumbaga, sobrang
na.
dami ng gas tayan ng Japan at ng ADB on the existing projects. And since China and the Philippines has spent over 1 billion baka mo dun sa studies and technical data on the Calamba Daraga project, hindi rin pwedeng magsama yung China at Japan, hindi nagkakasundo. So talagang hiwalay mundo.
Cito, the previous government already contracted China to be the project management consultant.
Oh, may kontrata na.
In the construction of Calamba to Bicol. Okay. The contract entered into by the Philippine government with China Exim Bank is worth 14 billion. Nakagastos na ang Philippine government ng 1.3 billion. So anong option natin?
Okay, so negotiation na lang for the main project itself. Pwede pa bang magtawaran doon?
I will not comment on that. That's beyond my pay grade. We will leave it to the Department of Finance. They're the ones deciding whether or not to pursue the project again with a China loan, in at what interest, and under what terms.
Okay, and last question, please. What about the Mindanao Railway project? Is it going to be left hanging for now? Too many things in the kitchen, or is something in the works?
It is a priority project. It was mentioned by the President in his State of the Nation address, Mindanao Railway project. The feasibility study has been done. The government has already, Philippine government has already allotted around 6.5 billion for the acquisition of the right-of-way. What we need now is the funding for the construction.
With whom?
Well, we leave it to the Department of Finance. And
so wala pa, not China, not Japan yet?
Previously, it was for China, but there were some concerns before the end of the term of the last administration, and therefore we leave it to the Department of Finance to guide us, because they are the ones in charge of applying for the loan, negotiating for the loan, and signing for the loan for this project. DOTr is only the implementing agency.
Okay. Well, thank you very much, Undersecretary Cesar Chavez, for your valued information and participation today. God bless you, and we hope to see you more often here on the program, as well as your associates in the DOTr. Sana naman hindi sila mas mailap katulad ng nakaraan.
Maraming salamat.
Thank you very much, Yusek Cesar Chavez. Okay, we'll go for a quick break, and when we return, we will talk about economics, and particularly this matter regarding the rise of poverty in the Philippines. And ito pong nakikita ko araw-araw, oras-oras na commercial sa Facebook regarding 15 million Filipinos suffering from involuntary hunger. What can our national economists do about it? We'll be right back here on Agenda. Welcome back to the program agenda. I'm your host, Cito Beltran. And for those of you who think that economics, the National Economic Development Authority are things that cause you nosebleed, please allow me to point out that we need to talk about economics, development, and policies so that you can better appreciate why the government is imposing certain policies like taxes, cuts, etc., or prioritizing certain projects versus other concerns. Kasi marami po sa atin, nagre-react na lang, but we don't really know the picture. And I will tell you, I will be the first to confess that I have in many occasions been very reactive, but with age and with the Lord's wisdom, medyo nagtitimpi na tayo, mas nagtatanong. Okay? So, let's find out from the Undersecretary from NEDA on National Development Policy and Planning, what is going on in the country about this poverty issue, mga 15 million na nagugutom daw, labag sa kanilang gustuhin, etc., or involuntary hunger, and many other things. Let's introduce our second guest this morning.
Rosemarie Edillon is Undersecretary for Policy and Planning at the National Economic and Development Authority, or NEDA. She is also the chairperson of the Task Group on Recovery under the National Task Force Against COVID-19. Prior to this, Edillon was the chair of the UNESCO Macroeconomics Committee.
Okay, before we bring in Yusek Rose, who has been on the program before, just allow me to read some of these things that Team Agenda has prepared on the topic. More Filipinos ended poorer in 2021 compared to 3 years ago after the pandemic. So the pandemic caused more poverty, period. Okay. Out of 165,029 families surveyed by the Philippine Statistics Authority, 99 million Filipinos are living below the poverty line last year. That will be one of our first questions to our guest on that issue. The number has increased from 17.67 million Filipinos recorded in 2018. About 2.3 million people in the Philippines were pushed into poverty between 2018 and 2021, largely due to the economic downturn caused by the pandemic. Yan po, because that is a cause of concern dahil the pandemic, we all saw that coming already. Prolonged lockdowns, economic downturn, or no movement, poor business environment, we already expected na bababa yung antas ng buhay ng maraming tao. But, okay, here's the problem. After the pandemic, instead of a surge or a rise going up, we were opposed or blocked by the Ukraine-Russia war, by shortages, climate change, etc., etc., fuel prices skyrocketing, and then the logistics nightmare where boats and planes were having problems transferring. So, ayan na po, medyo merong naging downturn, okay? So, in 2021, a Filipino family of 5 whose monthly income was below 12,030 was considered poor. So, kung yung sweldo mo monthly 12,000 lang at meron kang asawa at 3 anak, pulubi ka. Okay, I'm sorry. There's no nicer way of putting it, okay? And then the latest data indicates that the Duterte administration ended its 6-year term missing its watered-down poverty reduction goal in 2022. Kumbaga, binaba na nila, pinalabnaw na nila yung kanilang poverty reduction goal, hindi pa rin tinamaan. Mas marami pa rin ang naging mahirap. The Marcos Jr. administration wants to cut poverty rate to 9%, okay, in its final year in 2028. So 2022 ngayon, by 2028, dapat na pababa, okay? Now, NEDA said the government is on track to achieve its target by reducing poverty by 5%. Okay, let's bring in USEC Undersecretary Rosemarie Edillon. Good morning, USEC. Welcome back. Okay, maybe your microphone is on mute.
There.
Ayun yan. Okay.
Okay. Yeah. So, can you hear me now? Yeah, sorry
Yes,
na nawala yung aking broadband.
Welcome to the Philippines.
I know, the story of our lives.
Okay, Yusek,
Apa.
first and foremost, okay, ang projection daw ng NEDA as under the BBM administration, 5% poverty reduction. In real numbers, how many million Filipinos will be taken out of poverty? Nako, naghang ang signal.
Yes, sorry.
Ayan, yes, ma'am.
Okay. Hindi ko yeah, yung signal. Anyway, yeah, ang ano nga po natin is bring it down to 9% by 2028. Yan, by 2028 po. So kung billion po tayo noong babalikan ko po kayo dun sa ilang million yung mga will be taken out of poverty.
Okay. Okay, we'll go for a quick break first because we need to do technical adjustments on the signal of USEC Rose, and when we return, let's try to answer all of those issues. We'll be right back here on Agenda. In an era of digital nomads where many people are able to live in different parts of the world to do their work through the internet, we in the Philippines are struggling for connectivity. Let's get back to the old method of connecting to our guest, Undersecretary Rosemarie Edillon. Welcome back via telephone.
Via telephone. Opo. Thank you. Thank you very much for for being patient.
Okay. Ma'am Rose, pointed questions na lang because we don't have much time left. But in terms
Yes.
of poverty incidents, based on your NEDA data, have we identified the areas or poverty centers in the Philippines?
Yes po. Actually, it would still be the same class, yung tinatawag natin na clusters. Pinakamataas pa rin po talaga yung nasa BARM. That still has the highest incidence of poverty. So kailangan pa rin talaga ng tulong doon. But in addition, you have your region 8 as well. Mataas din po 'yon, and then region 5. Yun.
Okay, for those who are not familiar, what falls under region 5?
Region 5 po is the Bicol region.
Okay.
Apo, so yung Camarines Sur, Camarines Norte, Albay, Masbate.
Yeah. Region 8.
Apo. Region 8, ito po yung Eastern Visayas. Samar, Leyte, yung pong Samar Island, ang malaking po ng Eastern Visayas, malaking vulnerability nila is still our natural calamities.
Okay.
Yun.
Climate related disruptions.
Yes.
Now, for BARM, what is the prevailing cause of poverty?
Sa BARM, it's still yung parang napakataas talaga ng underdevelopment in the region. Alam naman po natin naging protracted yung problema nila sa conflict, and we really are hoping na yung Bangsamoro regional government will really work in their favor na magtuloy-tuloy na yung development in the area. Pero interesting po, sa BARM po ang pinakamataas na decline in poverty incidence. Nakitaan po siya ng 24.6 percentage points po na decline in poverty incidence.
As a result of the establishment of the autonomous region?
Hindi naman po. Nagsabay-sabay lang din po kasi yung well, again, unfortunately, nakatatapos nga po nung Marawi siege noon. So, right about the time po nung survey, ito yung talagang malaki na yung naging nadala para dun sa Bangon Marawi na programa. So, nagkaroon ng mga infrastructure projects dun sa kanila. Tapos syempre yung mga maging assistance din sa kanila during the pandemic, at saka tumulong din po yung mga development partners natin doon again para makabangon nga sila from the Marawi siege.
Okay, now going back to the solutions for presented or pushed forward by the NEDA, what solutions has the NEDA presented to solve or address poverty and achieve the 5% reduction goal of the Marcos Jr. administration?
Opo. 5 percentage points po by midterm, no? And then, so in effect, actually, 9 percentage points all throughout.
Okay. 9 pala.
Opo. Mga this translates to about at least 8 million who will be graduating out of poverty. Noong 2015 to 2018, mga 6 million po 'yon yung napagraduate out of poverty. Now this time, so over a period of 7 years po to, from 2021 up to 2028, we are looking at mga at least 8 million. So medyo mas mababa siya than before kasi nga nagsisimula ulit tayo ngayon, no? Ang unang-una nga pong kailangan gawin is talagang fully reopen the economy. Yun po. So, nandiyan na rin yung talaga, palakasin natin yung health system natin, paigtingin natin yung laban sa pandemic para magtuloy-tuloy yung pagbubukas ng ating economy and bring back the confidence, investor tsaka business and consumer confidence. Yung pangalawa po is mas i-enhance pa natin yung human capital development natin, yung education, yung sa quality ng education natin, i-address natin yung learning losses, especially nitong pandemic kailangan natin talagang i-address yun. Yung sa health din, health system natin, tsaka yung sinasabi namin na social protection, kailangan nating i-modernize yan. Mas maging effective, mas maging efficient yung ating pagbibigay din ng assistance at tsaka mas tama yung targeting. Tapos yung pangatlo naman po na umbrella is yung tinatawag namin na transformation ng economic sectors. Nakita natin na kailangan nating madaliin na yung pag-modernize ng agriculture, agribusiness, na rin yung mga manufacturing, yung punta na tayo sa Industry 4.0 na sinasabi, na greater use of the digital infrastructure, yung sinasabi namin na Internet of Things. Tapos sa services, gusto rin namin na i-harness natin yung potential ng creative industry, mapalago natin yung services, yung tourism, yung business processes natin at yung iba pang mga dun sa services. So yun po. At saka with respect po dun sa pangatlo, yung sinasabi nga namin, there will be greater support to R&D, innovation, pati na po yung infrastructure.
Okay, pasensya ka na, nabanggit ko kanina, nanood ako ng pelikula ni Shimon Peres, who was a Prime Minister of Israel. And I remember that when he became Prime Minister, he was facing a potential 1,000% inflation for the small state of Israel. And the radical action that he took was he put all of his cabinet members in a room for 36 hours, walang uwian, walang paliguan, until they all agreed on extreme and severe cutback in expenditure. So essentially, so much money that would have been used running government was redirected to addressing the social needs of people. What are your thoughts on a radical solution like that? And then second, of course, is higher taxes for big corporations that have high profit margins and who are giving a lot of dividends to shareholders.
Yeah, opo. Yung una muna po yung meron ngang panukala na yung right sizing of the bureaucracy. Itong right sizing, ang lagi nga namin pong pinapaliwanag, this does not necessarily mean downsizing, we'll go agency by agency. It's really about i-consider din natin yung structure ng nasa local government kasi baka naman po devolve na yung services. Baka ang mas kailangan na ng personnel na yung nasa LGU, hindi dito sa national. So yun po yung mga tinitingnan natin. Kami po sa NEDA, meron na rin po kaming ginagawang pag-aaral tungkol nga sa structure ng ating bureaucracia. Tapos paano natin i-restructure natin actually.
So instead of budgetary cuts, we will simply make government more efficient by removing what is not necessary. Kumbaga, yung right sizing is the correct solution.
Tama po yan.
What about, last question na lang, Ma'am Rose, because we've run out of time.
Sige po.
What about more taxes or higher taxes for high profitability corporations?
Yeah. Actually, yung tax reform natin, again, ang una nating ginagawa is to simplify muna yung ating tax regime. Kasi ang problema nga natin is medyo mababa yung collection natin. And we see that some of it has to do with komplikado yung ating tax regime, ang hirap din ng pagbayad, din ganyan. So ito muna yung inaayos, no, yung simplification of the tax regime, make it fairer, and then ayusin ang tax administration. So,
But will we see higher taxes for profitable corporations in the future?
Ang mas tinitingnan mo po muna namin yung higher taxes for those with kumbaga negative externalities, no? Yung mga, let's say, the high polluters, yan. Yun muna ang i-address muna natin. Kasi kailangan po natin ng mas maraming magbibigay ng trabaho. Baka nga po yun ang isang gagawin natin na titingnan nating metric sa pag-attract ng
going
investors.
Back to the Eastern
karaming
Visayas or Region 8 ba yun you were mentioning, did the NEDA and the concerned departments tackle the fact that taon-taon na lang, same problem, same destruction, same losses of resources? Is there any suggestion to address this?
Opo. Actually, nitong pong mga nakaraang taon, actually parang lumihis na nga na. Pero that still doesn't take away the fact that they need to improve on their resilience. Ang tingin nga po namin dati, ang kailangan tutukan ng Region 8 is i-build na po nila yung kanilang tinatawag namin knowledge economy, the digital economy. Kasi ito po yung hindi masyadong matatamaan ng bagyo. So, sana nga po magkaroon tayo ng mas marami pang mga research institutions in the area. Yun, you make them more resilient po.
Okay. Sige, Ma'am Rose, we will do a part 2. Maybe we can do a region by region assessment on what the authorities in those areas can do. But in the meantime, thank you very much for your time this morning. God bless you and have a great day.
Yes, salamat po. And really sorry for the internet connection po natin.
Okay, no problem. Okay, and now
Okay,
let's close our program with this week's blessing from the book of Isaiah, chapter 65, verses 23 to 24. They shall not labor in vain or bear children for calamity. Hindi mababaliwala ang inyong pagsisikap at hindi kayo magkakaroon ng mga anak na mapapanganak sa kahirapan, for they shall be offsprings of the blessed of the Lord, and their descendants with them. Before they call, bago pa sila tumawag, I will answer, sasagot na ako. While they are yet speaking, nagsasalita ka pa lang, I will hear, na dinig na kita. And that is the promise of God to all of you who love Him and believe Him. I'm Cito Beltran, thanking you for joining us this morning. Thank you. Please keep it here on One News PH.